And then in June, I went to New York again, and this time it was all paid for by Spotify, which still mind blown at how corporate America works. On this trip, I had no idea that Spotify was paying for my meals and my transportation, so I was being super freaking cheap with everything. But now I know that I can expense my meals and everything on trips, so I keep that in mind ever since this trip. But anyways, I went with my sister. I got to meet the second team that I had been working with, and that was amazing. It's honestly makes a huge difference to meet the people you're working with in person versus just seeing them through a screen. And I plan on posting a much longer video about that I've been editing since we went, so stay tuned for that. Then in June, we went to Mexico again to visit my parents. My boyfriend and my sister's best friend actually came with us on that trip, and we were able to go on our first family vacation together. And oh man, life has been really hard for us for most of our life, and it is so nice to be able to take a vacation and to be able to afford a vacation and to not really have the kinds of worries and stresses that we've had for as long as I can remember. So, amazing time. We went to Puebla and to Las Grutas de Tolantongo and just had so much fun. And then came back. And then in July, I went to New York again on another work trip. And that was so cool. I got to go to Spotify's like summer party in New York, and I got to meet so many people who had been working with. I got to meet all the other FAR analysts, and it was time of my life. I loved it. Although I don't think New York is for me, I'm really happy I get to experience these moments and go to New York without living in New York. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet, but at some point in this past year and a half, Spotify decided to become a work from anywhere company. So I could continue working in the position that I'm at without having to ever move to New York, which I'm super happy about because I don't have to leave my boyfriend or my family, and I get to stay in my comfort zone, but also work at this company that I really like working for. In July, I started house hunting. So my sister got promoted. She is now a manager at her job. My sister was like, hey, maybe we can buy a house now. So as soon as she gave me the green light for that, I started looking for a house. I found a house that I really liked. We put in an offer. We went into escrow, and escrow was gonna close while I was gonna be in Sweden for another work trip. So we had to move escrow up on August 12th, which was a Friday. Escrow closed, everything was good, money was wired, and the house, which I'm currently in right now, is now ours. It's been a crazy year and a half, but that was a crazy few days because buying a home is so stressful, and I was kind of doing it by myself because my sister was really busy with work and she doesn't really see her future here in the US, so this is more something that I really wanted and that she helped me with. It was a stressful time, and we closed on a Friday. That Friday I went to San Diego to meet up with that friend that I mentioned earlier because on Saturday we flew to Sweden for a work trip. So I got to go to Europe for the first time ever in August for a work trip, and that was so cool. I got to meet a bunch of people. I got to be with the two other FAR analysts again, and I got to learn a lot about Spotify. Oh, I forgot to mention that Friday before I left, we got our keys to the house, and so we moved as much as we could in the span of like 6 hours because after that I needed to go to San Diego, and I wanted to be part of the move-in process because this had been my whole dream. And then I came back, and my cousin from Mexico was here and my uncle from Arizona were here and stayed with us. So that was kind of a stressful, overwhelming time, but loved it. Love that we have a place for people to stay at. And then Yeah, I started trying to settle down into this new home, kept working. I got to go to a Kendrick Lamar concert. Spotify gave us free tickets, so I got to go to that, which was really cool. In October, I went to a tailgate, a UCLA tailgate. My sister's a UCLA alum, and my boyfriend actually is getting his PhD from UCLA. So got to experience my first college tailgate, which was really fun. Spotify had a concert, a private concert with Mike Towers, which was also freaking cool. And sometimes, although I'm really happy I don't live in New York, I hate that I miss out on really cool things. Like, they had a Mike Towers concert at the office that I could have just casually gone to if I felt like it, if I was living there. And obviously I would have gone, but I don't live there, so I watched the virtual screening of the private concert, which isn't the same, but still really cool. And then it was my boyfriend's birthday. And then we went to Tequila, Jalisco, which was time of my freaking life. I went with my cousins, and it was, I consider it my first vacation ever. My first actual vacation ever, because I've gone to Mexico a lot, but that's to see my family and to be with my family. Like, that's the primary purpose. It's not really a vacation. And then I did get to go to Europe, but that's also with work, and it requires a lot of social battery because I'm like there to meet work people, and it has a work purpose. So yeah, this was the first vacation that I paid for and I chose, and it was lots of fun. And now we're in November.
Sé que no se puede, pero quiero verte una última vez. Sé que tú no quieres y aunque yo te entiendo no puedo ceder a la idea de no volverte a ver, a saber que no te va a tener. Yo no te quiero perder, aunque sepa que lo nuestro no va a volver. No queda nada que hacer, entre tú y yo todo va a desaparecer. Pareciera mentira que estuviste en mi vida, y aunque duró un segundo yo creí que tú eras mía.
And life is so good. Life feels so perfect. It's like mind-blowing to me how much has changed in such a short amount of time. I was unemployed. I thought I had graduated but didn't. Had no clue what my future was gonna look like. Felt desperate and like a failure, and I was living in this tiny, tiny space where I felt crammed. And I described my life at that time, and my life mostly in college, as this hole that just this is so depressing, but I felt like I was in a hole that just kept getting deeper and deeper, and there was people watching me from above that just were not helping at all. And that's how helpless I felt. And I think Spotify was the ladder. Not Spotify specifically, but just getting a well-paying job was the ladder that got me out of that hole. My attitude on life is just so different now. I have hobbies. I started climbing. That's a super expensive hobby, and I love it. It's so much fun, and I am a homeowner now. I have this beautiful, beautiful space that is huge. Our kitchen is so big. For most of my life, we had an electric tiny stove, and now I have a beautiful kitchen, and life is just so good. It's not, I know that money isn't everything, but when you haven't had money for most of your life, money makes a huge difference. It gives you the basic things that you need to be able to have like a fulfilling life. And now I'm just trying to figure out what this new life is. I'm pretty financially stable now, and yeah, it just feels good. So anyways, that's my life. Sorry this is probably an extremely long video, and if you stayed and watched the whole thing, I appreciate you. Thank you. And now that I have the space and my life is so much better, I feel a little better about sharing it. I think back then my life was just so depressing and just not as nice to share. And I think now being in this good space, looking back at that time and talking about that time without still feeling so helpless is a lot easier. So I'm excited for the future, for potential videos, for just my new life. Anyways, thank you. Thank you for watching,